I want to thank you for checking out another podcast of We Ain't Scared Talk, where we ain't scared. My name is A1, and let me say thank you, as always, to everybody that supports and listens to this podcast. I appreciate you. Always have, always will. And also, let me get some of these formalities out of the way because we got a lot of information today. Thank you to everyone that has purchased their We Ain't Scared Talk mug. These are strong black mugs, onyx colored with the We Ain't Scared Talk logo on them. Very good for holding your hot drinks, teas, coffees, things like that. Good for conversation as well. So I appreciate you for that. And subscribe. Like and share. Okay, so like I said, there's a lot of information today. And quickly, I'd like to give some backstory on where this idea for the show came from. And as some of you may or may not know, Antonio Brown, who is the wide receiver, or was the former wide receiver for the Oakland Raiders and the New England Patriots, has been in the news quite a bit lately about his reluctance to, at least in Oakland, play without a particular helmet. And then there was some verbal altercations and disputes that caused even more of a flare-up, and he missed out on, I think, $30 million in Oakland, and then he missed out on, up to today, there's a $9 million signing bonus that is still sort of in question, even though the NFLPA, the Players Association, is doing some backdoor negotiations with Robert Kraft, who's the owner of the Patriots, to make sure that Antonio gets his signing bonus, which he should. That's why it's called a signing bonus. You sign, you bonus, period. So let's do this. I'm going to be toggling and bouncing back and forth today between my phone and documents, paperwork, because some of the information are afterthoughts when I wrote it, and I just want to make sure I don't lose anything. So I'm going to take my time today, okay? I'm going to take my time because there is a lot of information that has to get out, and I need to go on record with this because this is very, very important, because I think a lot of this is going to deal with race in America still. It's going to deal with racism within the NFL still, even though Colin Kaepernick got his settlement, and even though Jay-Z is now involved with the NFL with the social justice reform. All right, so let me tell you the name of the title of the show. It is Antonio Brown hated because he's a strong black man? Is Antonio Brown hated because he is a strong black man? Now, when I posted this on social media, that this was upcoming, had a few people say, well, no, it has nothing to do with race, and it's really because of his attitude. Well, as a black man in America, I know, and other black people know, everything is about race in America. Everything. Because race was the foundation of how America was built. So I expect for non-black people to say, well, no, it's not about race. Of course you're going to say that. Because it's not about you. It's about the black experience. And it irritates me to no end when people who are not black try to talk or speak from the black experience. You don't know. You think you know, but you don't know. So, don't even interject. It's okay to keep your mouth shut. All right? It's okay to be quiet when things of race that don't involve your particular race come up. You can just shut up. And to me, that's also white privilege. White privilege has this arrogance. White privilege has this mentality that no matter what the topic is, no matter what the subject matter is, that they can relate to it or they can explain it away or they can justify it. No, there's none of that. This ain't got nothing to do with you. All right? Okay, so let me just say this, because this is going to be the frame. All right, if you can imagine a photo in a frame, this is how this whole podcast is going to be framed. And that is, there has never been, or there is not any strong black man in their prime, okay, that has been celebrated, okay, at their prime, during their prime. Now, when they get old or they're out of the league or they're aging, then things change. But I'm talking about, there's never been a strong black man that has been celebrated in his prime and embraced by non-black people or white America. Never. And we're going to go back as far as, and this is not an exhaustive list, but we can go back to Marcus Garvey. Okay, was never embraced with his, with black nationalism. James Baldwin, very outspoken, was not embraced by white America. Malcolm X, obviously, was not embraced by white America. MLK, okay, was not embraced by white America in his prime. Huey P. Newton of the Black Panthers, okay, not embraced. Muhammad Ali, and in his prime, not embraced, okay. It wasn't until he suffered from Parkinson's and he got older, and then all of a sudden people were like, oh, you know what? Maybe we need to listen to him. Randy Moss is another good example. Wide receiver, very outspoken. Okay. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Oh, Fred Hampton, Black Panthers. Okay. Murdered. Stokely Carmichael. Okay. Not embraced. Medgar Evers, civil rights activist, assassinated at his height, never embraced. And these were black men that were viewed as agitators. Okay, they were viewed as troublemakers for fighting for what they believed, which was freedom and justice and an end to violence, oppression, and police brutality in America. And then you had John Carlos from the '68 Olympics, the brother that stood up on the platform and had the black glove on and was basically making a public statement, literally using his platform to fight for social justice and freedom for black people. So again, I'm going to take my time today, and I'm not going to rush through this. Not that I do anyway, but the only time that a strong black man, or a black man is embraced, I should say, by white America is if they conform and assimilate. And a good example of that is Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan has been able to navigate through a lot of the pitfalls of interaction with white America, white men. He was able to start his own brand and become an owner of a basketball franchise. But I had to set up that frame so that it will plant the seeds for you in your mind about Antonio Brown, okay? Now, I'm going to give you some examples of because a lot of times people say, well, it's just your opinion and you don't have... I'm going to give you some examples. I'm going to give you some white football examples, white males, okay? And then I'm going to set that right beside Antonio Brown. All right, so let's go ahead. So basically, as I've written, there is a lot of hate that is being spewed at Antonio Brown. And I want to start with someone in the league that has been accused of rape twice. Okay, and that is Ben Roethlisberger. So this is one of the three white males. So Ben Roethlisberger, well, actually, you know what? Let me back up. I want to tell you when Antonio started his career, because this is going to be important. On June 15, 2010, the Pittsburgh Steelers signed Brown to a 3-year, $1.28 million contract. And at that point, he had a signing bonus of $73,000. Okay. And he became the most prominent wide receiver in the NFL. 9 seasons with Pittsburgh. Wow, I didn't even know it was that long. 9 seasons. Okay. And this was before his trade to Oakland. Let me move some of these papers out of the way. Okay, there we go. Now, Brown delivered an eye-popping 8,000 receiving yards and 50 touchdowns from 2011 through 2016. Okay, he landed a 4-year, $68 million deal in February of 2017. Okay, so for those of you who are saying he left money on the table, he's not really thinking about the money, he's set for life. If he never plays another game ever again, he's okay. Okay, now then we got to go back to Oakland. Brown negotiated a new deal with the Oakland Raiders that will pay him $50 million over the next 3 seasons. And this deal included another $30 million in guaranteed money, which, of course, at this point, he walked away from. Now, we're going to fast forward because this was a big deal for Antonio Brown. And again, I'm just painting a picture for where we're headed. He didn't like his football helmet. Okay, and helmets are a big deal. Okay, they're a big deal. They protect your head from injury. We all know about CTE and the concussion issues that football players suffer from. This story became a big deal, and as the writer wrote, it was very twisted. And Brown, I should say, was irate about the NFL's new policy that would essentially decertify his long-time helmet and force him into a new one. So he was upset about it. Nothing wrong with that. You have equipment that you have to wear. It's like safety equipment that you would have to wear if you work in a very dangerous job. And it is a dangerous job. Football is a dangerous job. Every hit is like a car crash. Okay? So he stormed out. And he even attempted to repaint one of the helmets to look like it was the certified helmet. Okay? Now, we fast forward. Late July, early August 2019, the Raiders are having a problem with Brown's mindset. Okay, they feel like he's not cooperating, he's not being amenable to what they want, and the coaches basically were fed up. And they're trying to keep all this under wraps. So the team, what they decided to do was place Brown on the non-football injury list with a non-disclosed issue to start training camp. So, they're trying to cover up the fact that they really don't know how to deal with this. All right. So questions started coming up, and then he had a problem in a cryotherapy machine. And for those who don't know, cryotherapy is a cold treatment for athletes. When you're an athlete and you work and you're running and you're exercising, your muscles expand, and what it does is it shrinks or reduces the muscle, constricts it to help it heal, so you can recover faster. It's like when the athletes, you've seen them sit in ice water after games, or they ice their knees. Same philosophy. So anyway, he got into the cryotherapy machine, and he got frostbite on his feet, bottom of his feet. Now, some were saying that's because he did not wear the proper footwear, but this was another problem. Okay, to continue about the Antonio Brown issues, he threatened to never play football again after that because he felt like the Raiders organization, where he had frostbite on his feet, should have somehow been prevented. All right, so we're going to move forward again. Adam Schefter said that Brown got into it with a coach, Mayock, in a disagreement. And because of that, the Raiders suspended him. I think, as I heard, he called one of his coaches a cracker. And so what if he did? So what if he did call him a cracker? Cracker is not steeped in racial hatred and oppression. So what if he did? Anyway, then at that point, he said, you know what? I'm done. Release me. So on a Saturday morning, that following Saturday morning, he stated on Instagram, you're going to piss a lot of people off when you start doing what's best for you. And at that point, he implored again, release me, and the Raiders complied. Now, everybody thought it was over. They said, no, you know what? He'll never play in the game again. It's a wrap. He's done. And then what happens? He gets picked up by the Patriots. This was a shock of epic proportions because commentators and pundits were saying he'll never play in the league. Nobody's going to pick him up. But it was a $15 million one-year deal with a $9 million signing bonus. And everybody swallowed their tongues like, oh my God. Well, it was at that point that Antonio Brown got accused of sexual assault and rape. Now, this is where the plot gets really interesting, okay? He went to play. He played one game. And while these forcible rape allegations were being played out in the background by a physical trainer named Brittany Taylor out of Florida, she was a former gymnast who attended Central Michigan at the same time as Brown and met the wide receiver there. She filed a lawsuit again claiming that Brown sexually assaulted her on 3 different occasions from June 2017 through May 2018. It's amazing to me, and I gotta pull over here in this discourse. If someone rapes somebody once, all right, and I'm not saying rape is okay, it's not, but I've always had a real problem with multiple rape allegations. If you get raped, okay, and then are you going to continue to hang around this person? If this is so traumatic, this is what tells me that something else was going on. There was a relationship. I was raped 10 times. That ain't rape. That's not rape. That is a relationship. And you are mad. You are upset because you didn't get something that you wanted. You don't rape somebody 3 times and you keep coming around. Save that. Miss me with that. All right, so here we go. Back on the road. Brown makes his Patriots debut in Week 2 versus Miami, and in spite of the ongoing investigation into the civil suit filed against him, Brown suited up for the Patriots, and he racked up 4 receptions for 56 yards and a touchdown. Good job, my brother. And at one point, the Brady-Brown rapport looked like it had been several years in the making, with the duo connecting on 3 consecutive passes. And it's interesting because after that, it came out that obviously the Patriots released him, and I sort of suspected that the New England Patriots may have played him hoping that he was going to look bad. I think it could have been their strategy. Well, let's just go out, throw at him, make him work for it, and let's just see what happens. So at any rate, they released Antonio Brown Week 3. So the justification, now we have to turn the page here. The justification for releasing Antonio Brown after the second case or accusation, Robert Kraft, Mr. Holier Than Thou, stated that he did not appreciate how Antonio Brown tweeted a photo of the alleged victim's children, and he was outraged. Now, keep in mind, Robert Kraft himself is still dealing with a solicitation of prostitution at a Florida massage parlor. But let me tell you what Robert Kraft said after he was caught and arrested. I'm truly sorry. I know I've hurt and disappointed my family, my close friends, my coworkers, our fans, and many others who rightfully hold me to a higher standard. Okay, again, this was after he was charged with 2 misdemeanor counts of soliciting prostitution. He was among 100 people who were linked to several Central Florida day spas and massage parlors suspected of being used for prostitution. Understand, now this is important because, see, you want to try to rid yourself of someone who you believe is a sexual predator, but you yourself, Robert Kraft, are a sexual predator. He visited this massage parlor 2 times in a 24-hour period and received oral sex. And mind you, again, he fought to keep the video out of court, and he won. He was successful, his attorneys, because he's got money. But the case is not over, it's not closed, it's ongoing. Now, this is the other layer to that. The DA offered him a plea deal. It said, all right, Mr. Kraft, you can plead out and we'll drop all the charges if you just plead guilty. And he said no. All right, fine, that's your choice. But again, he attempts to milk the public for sympathy by saying, the last thing I would ever want to do is disrespect another human being. I have extraordinary respect for women. My morals and my soul were shaped by the most wonderful woman, the love of my life, who I was blessed to have as my partner for 50 years. He didn't write that, an attorney wrote that. The truth of the matter is, it is, again, do as I say, not as I do. Pot, meet kettle. You respect women so much, Mr. Kraft, that you pay them to give you blowjobs and hand jobs. Yeah, that's real respectful. You should have been a priest. All right, so now we're going to turn the page again. We talked about Antonio Brown's track record. We talked about Robert Kraft's history and double standard, outrage. Ben Roethlisberger, let's go on and get in here. Ben has been publicly accused of sexual assault twice. Once in 2009 and again in 2010. So here's the quick overview. In July of 2009, Andrea McNulty filed a civil suit against Roethlisberger and 8 employees of the Harrah's Hotel in Lake Tahoe, Nevada. Now, the suit alleged that Roethlisberger had raped McNulty in his room at the hotel in July of 2008. The suit also alleged that the 8 employees had aided in covering up the assault. Now, at the time of the alleged assault, McNulty was an employee of Harrah's, where Roethlisberger was staying. And according to her complaint, Roethlisberger asked her to come to his room to fix his television. Really? Now, after she entered his room, she alleged he grabbed her, held her against her will, pushed her on the bed, and raped her. Now, according to her complaint, McNulty communicated her objection and lack of consent and begged, please don't. Now, after the attack, according to the complaint, McNulty struggled with depression and entered a mental health institution. So Ben Roethlisberger, of course, and Harrah's denied the allegation. Now, in August of 2009, a former co-worker of McNulty's claimed in an affidavit that McNulty had bragged about sleeping with Roethlisberger after their encounter. So, in September 2009, McNulty's lawyer offered to drop the suit if Roethlisberger would admit that he had assaulted McNulty and donate $100,000 to a Reno charity for abused women. Of course, this was bizarre, and Roethlisberger attorney denied it or would not comply with it. So, Big Ben, now this is important. He settled out of court. You got to understand this. He rejected that attorney's original offer, but the case was settled out of court in January of 2012 after the civil complaint was filed by McNulty. Again, he settled out of court. Now, if the attitude toward R. Kelly, settling his sexual assault accusers out of court, and the belief that he's guilty exists, how come Big Ben wasn't crucified in the media for settling out of court? He kept his job. There was no NFL investigation. He was never scorned, and he is playing football to this day. To this day. And more importantly, there are others as well. How come Robert Kraft didn't fire himself? Since he's so concerned about the safety of women, how come Robert Kraft didn't recuse himself from the ownership of the New England Patriots? All right, to continue. This is the best example. Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football, and his troubled career. And for the record, as I go back to my notes here, the saga with Johnny Manziel, this goes on from 2012 all the way through 2019. Okay, so now you're looking at a 7-year window. So let's really get down with the get down if we're going to do this. Johnny Manziel in 2012 finds himself, now this is when he was in college. Okay, he was arrested by police in a popular North Gate district of College Station. He's charged with carrying fake identification as well as fighting. November 10th of 2012, Manziel throws for 253 yards with 2 touchdowns. He rushes for another 92 yards in A&M's 29-24 upset over the number 1 Alabama. This marked the beginning of Johnny Manziel's emergence into the national spotlight. Okay, he was the golden child. All right, now, as a freshman, yes, he won the Heisman Trophy, and that is what the NFL wanted. You had the great white hope in Johnny Manziel. He was a freshman, and he won the Heisman Trophy. It's the highest honor you can win as a college athlete for your performance. So, here we go. July of 2013. Manning arrives late on the opening day and misses a coaching meeting. Okay, now I'm painting a picture here about his behavior, his bizarre behavior that nobody wants to talk about. All right, so he's a no-show. August 4th of 2013, there was an investigation that was launched on whether Manziel was signing various types of memorabilia in exchange for cash, which I'm sure he was. But there seems to be a lack of evidence of any wrongdoing. But he was ultimately suspended for only the first half of the season opener. Now, August 6th of 2013, the trouble with Johnny, this was a ESPN story. It chronicled Manziel's struggles off the field. On June 7th through the 15th of 2014, 2 of the most popular images of Manziel's partying lifestyle emerge. Manziel's photographed on a giant inflatable swan holding a bottle of champagne. Okay, and then he goes on to say, "I can't hear you. There's too much money in my," and there's an explicit, I'm sure he said fucking hand, during rapper Drake's Houston Appreciation Weekend. So he's arrogant and he disregards anybody trying to tell him that he needs to get his life together. Same way they're doing with Antonio Brown. So he's catching flack for his recent internet escapades that went viral. He tells reporters that he's not going to change for anybody. This was at his NFL Rookie Symposium. Let me repeat that. Johnny Manziel on June 27, 2014 said he is not going to change for anybody. And he pointed out his hard work in a report. So he said that. You imagine? Nobody was upset about that. All right, let's keep going because I'm going to take my time. The 4th of July, 2014, he was photographed in a bathroom with a rolled up $20 bill. What do people normally do with rolled up $20 bills? Sounds like he was doing drugs. So this led to the revelation that he snorts cocaine and a variety of recreational drugs. All right, now to be clear, no drugs were ever found on Manziel that night. Of course they weren't, because he snorted it all. And they say he never failed a drug test. Okay, whatever. But a rolled up $20 bill could only have been used for one thing. All right, let's keep going because, again, I'm taking my time. Manziel is fined for the first time as a member of the Browns after showing up late to a team meeting. August 18 of 2014. He gets his wish, and at this point, he receives a $12,000 fine after firing a middle finger at the Redskins bench. When I say get his wish, he really thought he was untouchable. Okay, and so he was testing the limits of everybody's patience. So they fined him $12,000, which is nothing. So we're going to keep going here. He started playing. His play in the NFL was so bad. Everybody was shocked. But did they fire him? No, that did not happen right away. So we're going to keep going. In November 22nd of 2014, he was involved in an early morning altercation, all right, fighting again in the lobby of a Cleveland apartment building. Okay, it looked like he provoked the attack, but nothing happened. He wasn't arrested, he wasn't suspended, nothing. So there's a lot of information here, and we're going to keep going. Let's see. In the first real sign that Manziel is becoming aware of the issues with his behavior, he tells reporters, "It's been a year of growing up for me. I have to take this job a lot more seriously than maybe I did at first." You think? You're the quarterback. You're the leader of the team. And you're partying like you are in high school. But was anybody outraged beyond that? No. They kept giving him chance after chance. Johnny Manziel is the perfect example of 1,000 second chances. And there's always, well, I got to grow up. I got to be more mature. See, white boys always get the second, third, fourth, and fifth chance. And then December of 2014, he's out partying again. I got to take my job more seriously. The problem was he was talking about partying. So we're going to keep going because, again, I'm taking my time. He gives the middle finger to hecklers. Let's see, what else does he? Oh, finally he separates from the Browns organization on January 10th of 2015. Let's see, what else? He goes into rehab, February of 2015. And they try to say something, and an attorney wrote this. He's truly aware of the issues surrounding his lifestyle and has a desire to get that corrected. Blah, 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 yah. April of 2015, Manziel exits rehab. Okay? And we're going to keep going. He releases a public statement, "Thank you for all the support, whatever." So after losing trust with his teammates, this was in April of 2015, he earns an endorsement from an offensive lineman, Joe Thomas. This is called white privilege, who says it's pretty apparent he's realized, meaning Johnny Manziel, how important football is to him, and he's realized that in the NFL, you can't get away with maybe some of the things you did in college. This is called coddling, okay? This is called coddling. And let's continue. There is another incident. May 15, 2015, he got another endorsement from another teammate, Paul Kruger. Again, more coddling. I know everybody sees each other at the facility all the time, so I think everybody's been real happy with the way things have gone. Now, mind you, Antonio Brown, not getting any of this from his teammates. He's not getting the benefit of the doubt. But Johnny Manziel, Ben Roethlisberger, Robert Kraft, this is the epitome of football players behaving badly. And they all kept their job. As a matter of fact, for Johnny Manziel, for those of you who may be wondering whatever happened to him, he made his debut in June of 2019 in Montreal. He's playing he's still playing football. He had other altercations with the cops, and they let him go. When I asked the question, is Antonio Brown hated because he is a strong black man? After all of that information, the only conclusion I can draw is yes. It's yes. because these white men have gotten away with bloody murder and nobody cares. So I support Antonio Brown. I believe in this man, and you should too. All right. I know you got your own thoughts on this, and that's great. Let's keep this conversation going. And I appreciate you. All right. I want to thank you for checking out another podcast of We Ain't Scared Talk. My name is A1, and you got some good food for thought. Listen again. Tell a friend. We ain't scared.